What's going on? This is Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and holy cow, thank goodness we have this Seahawks defense. We're going to dive into all the good and the bad from this day for the Seahawks after, we slept a little bit on this victory over the Vikings, and I reiterate, thank goodness we have this defense. If you look at what the Seahawks did in the first half, utter domination. 0 points allowed. Guess what? They didn't allow any points that whole game. 48 yards allowed total. Not on the ground, not by Justin Jefferson, not by Brosmer. Total. They only allowed just over 162 on the whole game, and frankly, most of that yardage was just in garbage time anyways. 2 big sacks. They end up having 4 on the game. Big pick 6. End up having 5 takeaways in this game. This defense is special. And to win a Super Bowl, you need an elite defensive unit, especially out here in Seattle. Every single time that you've gotten to the Super Bowl in the past, the 2 Legion of Boom eras and the Mike Holmgren era, you had great defenses that year. You have another great defense under head coach Mike Macdonald. And I just compared your defense to the Legion of Boom era. Am I a bit over my skis? Am I going a bit too quickly right now when I say I think we can start to compare certain parts of this defense to the Legion of Boom defense? Now, we can't talk about the longevity and the greatness that was, that era under Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Bobby Wagner, Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill. List goes on and on and on. But it does feel, at least right now, that this defense that you have out in Seattle, man, they are really, really freaking special. Maybe I'm a little bit crazy. Who knows? That's okay. I can get a little bit excited every now and again. But why don't you go down in the comment section and just let me know. Can we start comparing this defense to the LOB? All right, so here's our Vikings offensive stats for the whole game. 126 passing yards for Max Brosmer. A lot of that yardage does end up going down because of all the sacks the Seahawks had. I think what's most impressive is those rushing yards, because I'll tell you right now, most of the rushing yards that the Vikings had, well, that came later on into the game when the game was over, and I was already doing a highlight cut with Alpert. Third downs, 20% is atrocious. The Vikings couldn't get on the field after they got to third down if they wanted to. It just felt like the entire time the Seahawks dominated. And, of course, I talked about those 5 turnovers. Ernest Jones, absolutely flying around, had a big game. And I think what's important to note, not only did he have the 2 interceptions, one, of course, being the pick 6 that really was huge for the Seahawks because it was on a 4th down when the Vikings could have got some easy points. But it's also important to note that Ernest Jones now has 5 interceptions on the year, one of the top interception getters in the National Football League. Huge game from Jones, led your team in tackles, and I think some of the tackling ability was also because of how well that defensive line played, led by DeMarcus Lawrence. Lawrence obviously had one of the big sacks for the Seahawks, but he was just forcing fumbles, forcing the interception here in this picture you can see. So really he's responsible for 2 of the turnovers, one becoming a touchdown for the Seahawks. And I think it's also important to note, too, with DeMarcus Lawrence, just what he does for others because of how well he was playing, getting a bunch of tackles, getting a bunch of TFLs. That led to other players on your D-line not being double-teamed, not being triple-teamed, getting single blocks, leading to more big plays for guys like Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu as well. Boye Mafe had a nice little game. And that's because of DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence is the best free agent that the Seahawks have signed in years. It's not even close. Like, he's so freaking good. What he means to this defense, you saw it. The one game that he wasn't out there for you, you lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, is that solely because DeMarcus Lawrence wasn't out there? No. If DeMarcus Lawrence is playing in that game, I 100% think you win that game. I'm asking you, though, is D-Law the best free agent signing in 10 years? I'm saying yes. If you say yes, let me know down below in the comments. If you say no down below in the comments. You better have some good reasoning because DeMarcus Lawrence is an absolute freaking animal, and I am so excited that he's here in Seattle. But this is why you signed him. Talked about all the takeaways that you had. Max Brosmer just looked like he was in hell that whole game. He looked like an undrafted free agent. He looked like he had no answers. Kevin O'Connell had no answers. This whole Vikings offense had no answers. We didn't even go into talk about Justin Jefferson and the fact that he didn't have any real catches in this game. I don't even know if he got into double digits yards wise. This is why we hired head coach Mike Macdonald. We wanted to zig while everyone else zagged. Everyone else in the National Football League was getting the Sean McVay guys. Everyone else in the National Football League was looking for the next big hotshot offensive guy. Not Seattle. Josh Schneider. He said, you know what? I'm going to go get a head coach that's defensive minded that knows how to shut down the hotshot offenses. And that's what you have in Mike Macdonald. And here's the thing. This is just the beginning. Like, this is Macdonald in year 2. Year 1 was about him getting the guys that he wants on his defense. Year 2 is clearly about him molding that defense. Now, let's see how he develops these guys, develops this defense. Drake Thomas was a guy who wasn't even supposed to make the team. Now he's one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. Ty Okuda was a guy that was like, well, I really hope he doesn't get any playing time, and I hope he never sees the field. To now, wow, this guy's an absolute stud. He could be a trade piece later on. Or if Julian Love doesn't end up coming back and being the same guy, well, maybe there's a move there as well. Ty Okuda is a great defensive player for you now at safety. And the list goes on and on and on. This defense is going to be here to stay for years and years and years. This is how you get the monikers of the Pittsburgh Steelers, of the Baltimore Ravens, teams that always have great defenses. This is how you get believed the same way that those teams do. You hire a good defensive coordinator or a head coach, and he builds that defense and builds it and builds it and builds it until you have what you have in Seattle. You will always have a good defense under head coach Mike Macdonald. Mark my frickin' words. Now, we do have to talk about the offense. And wasn't good. There was a lot left to be desired there for Seattle. And it felt like Seattle left a lot of opportunities on the table offensively. A lot of struggles. But before we get into any of that, I do have to let you know about the fine sponsor of our video today. And that is this great Seahawks shirt that, before we even pull up the picture, this deal is absolutely insane. It was $35. It's now $16. You got the holidays coming up. Emerald City football. Man, it's just clean. It's that dark navy too, so you know, like, hey, you can go use it as a workout shirt. You get a little sweaty. Ain't no big thing. It's a cool t-shirt. It's not going to show. It was $35. It's now $16. Perfect for the Seahawks fan in your life, whether that's you, your friend, your mother, your brother, your sister, whoever. Help them out. Go get this shirt. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. It's a great gift. All right. So we're going to start offensively with Sam Darnold. Unfortunately for the QB1, he didn't look good in this game. He just didn't. He wasn't able to find a lot of open receivers. Honestly, Cooper Kupp and A.J. Barner kind of saved him for most of the game, and a lot of balls were getting knocked down at the line of scrimmage. He wasn't able to find JSN as much as he probably would have wanted. JSN had his worst game of the season, and it wasn't even close. He was horrific in this one, but I wouldn't blame JSN. Seattle couldn't get the ball to JSN. He got open a couple times, and Brian Flores had a really good plan for the defensive attack on JSN, and he's the first guy that really shut him down. Now, that would normally lead to more things being open for Rashid Shaheed or Cooper Kupp, A.J. Barner, but they really just weren't. And the reason that, in my eyes, this is the worst game for the offense isn't because you had a bunch of turnovers or anything else like that. Like, if you look at the Rams game, yeah, you have a bunch of turnovers, so it looks bad. You just couldn't flat out move the football. You couldn't move the football through the air. Brian Flores beat you. Brian Flores absolutely kicked your butt. But I would tell you this right now. I don't know that I would blame Sam Darnold. I don't know that I'd blame Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I don't know that I'd blame any of the running backs. I might blame Clint Kubiak a little bit for not having a better game plan to attack Brian Flores, but I honestly think the bad offensive output in this game, I'm blaming the offensive line. But I want to ask you first before I say anything else. Who do you blame for the bad offensive output? Is it on Sam? Is it on the coaching staff? Is it on the players on the field not named Sam Darnold or Jaxon Smith-Njigba? Or is it a combination of a couple things? Maybe. You know who's to blame? Maybe it's Brian Flores. Maybe it's because he's a damn good football coach. Now, the reason that I'm blaming the offensive line here, there was a big struggle bus at that right guard spot. It just feels like every time that I go onto Twitter, I just see another missed block from Anthony Bradford. I see another guy rushing free. It felt like there were multiple times in this game that he had opportunities in the run game and in the pass game to just do his job, and the Seahawks would have been set up for a good game. But he didn't, at least not until in the second half when that offensive line and these two guys kind of got everything else going in the rushing attack. Now, the numbers are not going to jump off the page to you. You're not going to look at Zach Charbonnet's day and Kenneth Walker's day and go, wow, that was an incredible output by those two. But a lot of those rushing yards, the 56 from Walker and the 52 from Charbonnet, came in the second half. A lot of those rushing yards for them were in big moments when you needed to ice the game away. And I felt like in a very, very ugly game, the running attack saved the Seattle Seahawks in this one because Brian Flores had your offensive line in hell. He was walking guys onto the line of scrimmage, dropping everyone, doing twists, having some guys come up on the ball and come. Sometimes they would do a lot of hug blitzing, which essentially is both two linebackers come up on the line of scrimmage. They both take one step forward. Whichever one Anthony Bradford took, the other one would keep going on his path towards the quarterback. The other one would drop back into coverage. And it just felt like this offensive line wasn't ready for what was going until eventually they got that rushing attack moving forward. And I think we're at a point now in Seattle where this is why you continue to run the football the way that you have been all season long. Sometimes you have to force it. But when you need it most, in an ugly game, you can grind away clock because you have a lead. You have a great defense. You have a pretty decent rushing attack. And I think that's important. The last thing I do want to note, I don't like calling for people's jobs. I will not call for people's jobs in an offensive manner. There are a lot of people that you are going to see on Twitter that call for jobs in an offensive manner. I'm over the Anthony Bradford experience. Here's what's frustrating. I don't know who you turn to that's on this roster. In fact, I don't think there is a person on this roster. I saw one drive of Christian Haynes play football. I'm good. Don't want it. But I'm done with Anthony Bradford. I've had too many times now on this year where he's been like this, looking backwards when he should be looking forward. It just keeps happening, and I'm done with it. But you're not going to do anything to replace him this year. You need to go draft another guard or overpay for someone. Maybe we should have overpaid for Will Price. Maybe we shouldn't have. But right now, Anthony Bradford isn't the answer, and I'm done with it. I'm freaking done. He looked like crap in this game. It got okay in the rushing attack, but in the passing game, he looked like crap and got Darnold hit early and often. And it killed your passing game. Done with it. I do like Seahawk victories, though. So appreciate it. Help us out. Come on in and like the video if you love it when the Seahawks come away with a win. Hey, it was an ugly one, but it doesn't matter. The defense looked fantastic, and we need to shout that from the mountaintops, while also understanding that our offense is going to get it figured out. There's few defensive coordinators as good as Brian Flores. Help us out, like the video. And, of course, you already like the video, you might as well subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You love the Seahawks. I love the Seahawks. I love talking about all the Seahawks news and rumors. You don't want to miss out on those, so subscribe to the channel so that you don't. Thank you guys for tuning in. Can't wait to see you guys next time.